On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, Tesla is now offering a particularly unique limited edition loot box referral prize. Elon Musk drops a fun new tidbit about the next-gen Tesla Roadster. Another new detail about the new Model 3 Ludicrous has been revealed, and more. Greetings, friends. I'm Ryan McCaffrey, joining you for episode 451 of Ride the Lightning. It's your weekly Tesla unofficial podcast. This one is publishing on March 24th, 2024, and the rain has returned in San Francisco. There's a nice club event tomorrow. The Tesla owners of Silicon Valley Club are having a cool Owners Day event tomorrow as I record this, which I'm planning to attend, and the Tesla Semi will be there. There'll be Cybertrucks there. So we'll see. They said rain or shine. We'll see if we're going to get rained on, but I hope you are having a good weekend as you hear this. Let's get right into it with a few warm-ups. First of all, Tesla is trying to squeeze every last order that it can get here at the end of Q1 by letting everyone know right on the Model Y Design Studio page that Model Y prices will be going up by $1,000 on April 1st. And no, sadly, this will not be an April Fool's joke. This will be a real thing. So they're trying to get anybody that's sitting on the fence to get their order in now, and we'll see if that pays off for them. You know, wherever the Q1 numbers land, because, again, as I've talked about on the last podcast or two, it's looking like, based on all of these demand levers that they've been pulling, that the numbers might come in a little soft, at least relative to the traditional growth we've seen quarter over quarter over quarter with Tesla. But wherever those Q1 numbers land, Q2 should be better. Now, historically, as I've said before, Q1 is the weakest. And on top of that, specifically with regard to this Q1 and then the subsequent Q2, the new Model 3 will be available for the entire quarter, every quarter from here on out, whereas in Q1, it had only started to just trickle out at the very, very, very end of January, and it was still pretty slow to get out from there until really now in March. I feel like they're flowing pretty good. In fact, just this past week, I've started to see them in decent quantities on the road here. I've seen black ones, I've seen white ones, I've seen stealth gray ones. I have not seen any ultra red ones in person as of yet, but I do suspect certainly they're out there. People are taking delivery of them. We know Tesla batches these things too, so they may have started with either a black run or more likely a stealth gray run, since that's the quote-unquote free color these days. But it has been cool to start to see them on the road. I have to get used to identifying the Model 3 from far away. You know, the current 3 and Y I can do instantly. And I've even gotten good enough, because there's so many of them around the San Francisco Bay Area to practice on, I can tell if it's a 3 or a Y from far away at night because of the height of the headlights. So even though they're the same exact headlights, I can tell if it's a 3 or a Y. Same thing with the taillights. It's like, look for the higher taillights on the Model Y. But yeah, the new 3 has a new daytime running light. So even during the day, it's got a new kind of signature lighting element up front, and it looks really nice. I think the new DRL is quite nice. The DRL on my car, the existing or the outgoing 3s, I guess now officially, the old Model 3s and the still current Model Ys, there's nothing fancy about it. It's just a very straightforward little, very just simple little daytime running light. But the new 3 has a little bit more of an identity, let's say, at least when it comes to the lighting in the front of the car. So in addition, getting back to my point here about the demand and demand levers here at the end of the quarter, in addition to the new Model 3 ramping up in Q2, by the way, I saw a Reddit commenter refer to the new Model 3 this past week as the 3 fresh, And I'm really, really jealous that I didn't think of that first, because that's really good. It's easy to type. It's fun to say. I could have been using that for like the past year. The 3 Fresh. Instead of Model 3 Highland or the Highland, 3 Fresh is so much more fun. Anyway, the other thing to take into account for Q2 in terms of being an improvement over Q1 is that the Cybertruck will also continue to ramp up its production more in Q2. Now, speaking of demand levers, since Tesla has been pulling so many of them this quarter, I thought I would make it the subject of this week's Patreon poll. So I asked all of you, because you don't have to be backing me on Patreon in order to vote in each week's Patreon poll. It's free. It's open to anybody. You just swing on over to my Patreon page, which can be found at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Stop by every Tuesday night or later in the week, because the poll usually goes up on Tuesday night. And this week the question was, what besides price drops, because that's obviously the one we'd all vote for, but what besides price drops is the most appealing demand lever to you? 52% of you voted for FSD transfer, which is really not a surprise. That's probably the most enticing arrow that Tesla has in its quiver, other than just straight up lowering the price of the cars. After that, it was pretty bunched up. 14% voted for free supercharging miles or free supercharging months, like 3 months, 6 months, whatever. 13%, basically the same number of people, voted for free paint colors. 10% said free lifetime supercharging transfer. That probably would have gotten more votes, but there aren't as many owners out there that have free lifetime supercharging transfers, so it's understandable on that. And then 4% said free months of FSD, such as what they're doing now, just with a referral link. If you use a referral, you get 3 free months of FSD. And there were some good comments. I'll just read you one real quick. Lawton, a longtime listener, said, offer a significant discount price on FSD. And that's something they haven't done yet. That could be a motivator too, just to not just buy the car, but to also buy FSD. So thank you, Lawton, for that comment. Thank you to everybody that took the time to vote in this week's Patreon poll. The next one will go up again, usually Tuesday evening Pacific time. Okay, so continuing the podcast here, I kicked off with some bad news in the form of that Model Y price increase that's coming up. So let me now give you some good news. For those of you who've been wondering when Tesla is finally going to pay some attention to Smart Summon, which even Elon himself has acknowledged that it's just not been very good, you may remember that many months ago now, Elon said that the Tesla team was working on actual Smart Summon, the acronym of which is objectively funny. Anyway, some good news on that ASS front, courtesy of our white hat hacker friend, Green the Only, who tweeted, looks like the new version 12.3 beta has the actually Smart Summon added. So we're waiting on it now. It's in there. He also mentioned it's likely one of those gated by server-side config features, as is typically the case with a whole bunch of other stuff. So I am no longer in a small group of people who have version 12 of the FSD beta. It has gone out much wider now, which is great to see. And needless to say, I am among many of you that are very eager to try out actual Smart Summon. I'll be honest with you, I haven't touched it. I have not even attempted to use it in actual years now. The time horizon can be measured in years for me on this, because quite frankly, I just didn't have good experiences or even anything remotely close to a good experience back when it had first rolled out and I had tried it. In fact, I've seen other people, not saying this will happen to you if you try it, it's not this dire, but I've seen other people post dash cam videos of their car hitting other things when they try to use this current older version of it. So, yeah, I'm not going to be lining up to be first in line to try this out. I'm going to let other people try it out once the actual Smart Summon drops, and if it's looking good, then I will happily give it a try. I mean, you could pessimistically say that the bar is kind of low right now for Smart Summon, but to be more optimistic about it, as I try to be, I can honestly say that the ceiling for this is downright stratospheric. If it can really come and find you in the pouring rain from across the parking lot when you come out of, say, a movie theater, just as an example, then that is truly awesome. And that's just one of 100 potentially great use cases for actual Smart Summon. Like, for mobility, just for human mobility, for accessibility, this could be huge. If you are a physically disabled or handicapped driver, and again, same thing, yes, there are handicapped spaces that are closer, that are usually close to the front, but why not have the car come right up to you so you don't even have to walk anywhere across the traffic lane of the parking lot? There's a lot of potentially awesome use cases for this when Tesla is able to really get it dialed in. So when it does get turned on, I will A, let you know, and B, I'll report back with my findings once I am indeed able to try it out. So as I said, lots of you now are getting version 12.3 of the FSD beta, so it looks like lots of us will get to try it out when the time comes. Also this week, there is a fun new referral prize in the loot box. It's going to require 4 referrals. And that prize, as you already gathered from the strange title of this week's episode, it is a CyberHammer. Yes, you heard me correctly. CyberHammer. It costs 35,000 loot box points. Again, that's where the 4 referrals comes from. You'll have 5,000 left over, but you'll need to get 4 referrals in order to qualify for this hammer. But you'll have to be quick about it, because here's the description straight from the loot box in our Tesla apps. It says, limited release by redemption only. Ready or not, it's hammer time. Our limited release CyberHammer commemorates the Cybertruck unveiling when Franz used a sledgehammer to show the toughness of the vehicle's stainless steel exoskeleton. Designed by Tesla Design Studio and made of steel, CyberHammer features a laser etching of Franz's signature on the head that makes this piece a true collectible. Only 800 hammers will be built, or I guess they say only 800 hammers built, available in limited batches only through the Tesla Refer and Earn program. Certificate of authenticity included, limit 1 per Tesla account. Note, do not strike hard surfaces with CyberHammer intended for display or gym use. Well, clearly what they're trying to say without, I guess, there might be like a legal reason why they didn't specify. They just kept it general there. They don't want you to hit your truck with it. Don't use it on the Cybertruck. And in fact, don't use it on anything. It's just a fun thing for show. Now, if I have to be honest with you all, if I had the points, which I currently don't, I don't have any at the moment, I just could not see myself spending that many points on this. If it were lower, if it cost fewer loot box points, maybe, but gosh, 4 referrals worth, that's a polite no thank you from me, but certainly to each their own. Also, on a related note, I wonder how much these are going to be sold for on eBay very soon, because you know that a few people that get that first batch of them are going to try and flip it. So what will the market dictate for the value of this thing? I honestly don't know. Will anybody pay $400 for it? Less? More? I'm not sure. I would guess less. If I had to take an educated guess, I guess let's just to make this a little fun, make it a little game here, because these will go on eBay. There's no doubt about that. I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to say that the first winning bid for a CyberHammer on eBay is $250. I'll go there with it. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm even close. We'll keep tabs on that. All right. One other quick referral program note this week. If you buy a new Tesla with a referral link, you'll get the 3 free months of FSD that Tesla's been offering for a little while now. And you will also get 1 year of premium connectivity, which is a $100 value. So not too bad there. Although, interestingly, just today, as I'm recording here on Friday night, as I usually do, premium connectivity had an outage across the Tesla network, or at least across the United States Tesla network. I had 2 friends message me about this. The first one I thought, oh, there's just a problem with your car. Try rebooting. And then when a second friend texted me, Gil from San Diego, to name drop, hi Gil, I was like, oh, okay, this, and then Gil actually looked it up because I was still in my workday, so I hadn't even really had a chance to dig into it. Turns out, yes, some kind of outage. Don't know why. Hopefully not a hack or anything malicious, but in fact, both Gil and my other friend both said, has this ever happened before? And I cannot remember this ever happening before, and hopefully it won't happen again, but strange goings on. Hopefully it's fixed by now, and if not by now, certainly hopefully by the time you hear this. But more importantly, or at least more optimistically, you get 1 free year of premium connectivity with the purchase of a new Tesla if you use a referral link. So if you need one, again, I always encourage you because I've been very fortunate. The referral program has been very good to me. So I'm not actively promoting my code. I hope you'll use a code of either a friend, a family member, or a coworker if you're going to buy a new Tesla and you don't already have one, obviously, because if you did, you'd already have your own referral code and could effectively refer yourself through the loyalty program. But if you need a referral link and you just need one, you're welcome to use mine. The way to do that is to type this into a web browser, ts.la/Ryan73014. You can do that on mobile or on desktop, Mac or PC, doesn't matter. Hit enter, and that will take you to the Tesla Design Studio, where you can then configure whichever Tesla you'd like to buy, place the order, and upon delivery, you'll have the 3 free months of FSD activated and the 1 year of premium connectivity activated. Just for reference, if you're not already familiar, if you buy a car normally, or I guess I should say without a referral link, you get a 1-month trial of premium connectivity. So this is giving you an extra 11 months. So I guess technically speaking, it's not even worth $100, but it's still nice. All right, one more little tidbit before we get properly started with this week's news. And this one is about the imminent Model 3 Ludicrous. I teased this in the very top of the show because I am very interested in the Model 3 Ludicrous. I cannot wait to see it. I mean, it's been spotted now a few times without any covering on it whatsoever. We've got a pretty good idea of what it looks like, but I can't wait to find out everything about it, which hopefully shouldn't be too much longer now. But one more new detail this week, and it's courtesy of the Tesla Motors Club forums and a user there who goes by the screen name Watts Up, Watts_up. Now that person photographed a Model 3 Ludicrous engineering mule that, of course, a Tesla engineer was driving around. This one was parked, and it had the front and back, the front fascia and rear fascia, wrapped up with the black bra, if you will. But the red calipers, the red brake calipers, were clearly visible through the wheels, and the sport bucket seats that we know are in that car were viewable in the cabin through the windshield. And, of course, you could surmise that just the fact that the front and rear ends were covered with those bras is already indicative of it being a Ludicrous, because the 3 Fresh is out. See, I'm using it. The 3 Fresh is out, and if it weren't a Ludicrous model, there would be no need to cover up the front and the back. Anyway, the new notable detail that is clearly viewable in one of the pictures that Watts Up took is the dashboard trim piece in the Model 3 Ludicrous. As we know, it's a fabric material in the base and in the dual motor long range, but in the in the Ludicrous, it's going to be a carbon fiber piece. And I think that is a nice extra touch for the Ludicrous version, because the S and X have always offered carbon fiber interior trim in their performance versions over the years, going all the way back. My cousin Pat, may he rest in peace, his 2013 VIN 4500 something Model S P85 had carbon fiber trim in it. And I've always liked the carbon fiber trim in the Tesla, so I am stoked that the Model 3 Ludicrous, the Performance Model 3, will now finally also have a carbon fiber trim piece in the interior. So that is nice to see. So on the inside, because in my car, my 2018 Model 3 Performance, there is absolutely nothing on the inside of the car, the interior of the car, that indicates it's a performance model. If you only saw the car from the inside, it could be any Model 3 trim. So I really like that Tesla now, on the Model 3 Ludicrous, you'll see the carbon fiber trim piece and those sport bucket seats as well. So love to see it. Can't wait for the full official reveal of this car, which hopefully, again, will be pretty soon. All right, well, I hope all of you, speaking of Ludicrous, at the Ludicrous tier or higher on my Patreon, that's the $10 per month support tier. So I hope all of you that are kindly backing me at that $10 per month tier or higher on my Patreon enjoyed this week's Lightning Round mini episode. I do these every single week on Patreon. This was mini episode number 89. And this one was about what the verdict is on the Cybertruck. The sort of collective car industry verdict on the Cybertruck is, now that a lot of people both inside and outside the Tesla community have reviewed it. I talked about a couple of specific reviews, one from Motor Trend. They did a head-to-head against the F-150 Lightning and the Rivian R1T. So check that out if you are so kindly and generously backing me on Patreon. And if you're not, and you'd like to sign up, you say, hey, Ryan, you know what? Yes, 89 mini episodes, that's a lot of extra content. That sounds pretty cool, and I'd like to support you at that $10 per month tier. You can head on over to patreon.com/Tesla Podcast, and you can sign up there, where you will get, at that $10 per month tier, not just the entire archive of those lightning round mini episodes and every new one I do each week, but you'll get early access to each week's episode as well, which is the perk at the $5 per month tier. The tiers all stack, so the higher that you're kind enough to support, the more perks and bonuses that you get. So again, patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Don't forget, by the way, 10% discount on the Patreon if you sign up for the yearly pledge, if you just want to pledge once for an entire year. And there's also a 7-day free trial on that $10 per month tier if you'd like to try it out. Just see what it's like to be a backer without actually plunking down any cash. Let's get rolling with the, 1, 2, 3, 4 main news stories that I've got teed up and ready to go for you this week. The first up is, of course, my favorite one. That's usually how I order these things. So we've got a little next-gen Roadster tidbit, yes, again, from Tesla CEO Elon Musk, in what was his, I'm not going to get into it, but it proved to be a controversial interview with former CNN personality Don Lemon. So, what did Elon have to say about the new Roadster? Well, I'll play you the clip.
Look, I don't want to give away, much more than what I've said publicly, except that the Roadster will be a collaboration between SpaceX and Tesla. So, you can expect some rockety stuff there.
A flying car?
Maybe. It's not out of the question.
Go on.
No, I gotta reserve the cool stuff for the when we actually unveil it. But it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna have some rocket technology in it. I think the only way to do something that's cooler than the Cybertruck is to combine the SpaceX and Tesla technology to create something that's not even really a car.
Then what would it be?
Something that's never existed before.
I'm getting Jetsons vibes.
Totally Jetsons vibes. The ones may not be aware, like some things that I have said publicly is that it'll do 0 to 60 in under 1 second. So that's by far faster than any sports car that exists. And that's not even the most exciting thing about it.
Does it have wings?
No, it does not have big wings, because big wings would be unwieldy on the road.
Does it have propellers?
It does not have propellers.
Okay. It has wheels.
It does have wheels.
Okay.
Roadster 20 questions.
Does it have a steering wheel?
Not exactly.
What is it?
It'll have a drive-by-wire yoke, essentially, kind of like the way aircraft or what modern jets are controlled.
And do you think it's a way of the future that everyone will follow your lead on this?
I don't think anyone will ever make anything like the Roadster that we're going to make.
Okay, so Elon said some fun things in there. I wrote down some of the quotes. He said, expect some rockety stuff there, which, rockety, by the way, awesome license plate, awesome custom license plate for the Roadster. Sadly, I looked it up in California, already taken. Somebody's already got it. He also said, the only way to do something that's cooler than the Cybertruck is to combine SpaceX and Tesla technology to create something that's not really a car. I love that. And then he said, totally Jetsons vibe. And then he also said, I don't think anyone will ever make anything like the Roadster that we're going to make. So look, I know plenty of you out there think that I am a fool for getting hyped about this car, because it's been over 6 years already, and there is still absolutely no sign of the start of production on this thing. I get it. But the thing that I always point to, and not just about the Roadster, but with all things Tesla, every one of these vehicles, Elon is almost always late, sometimes very late. This is the latest he's ever been, the exception being the Model Y, which was early. But he almost always delivers, meaning, and I'm using he and the collective team, always deliver. Possible exception there being on the 500-mile range Cybertruck tri-motor, which did not happen, at least not without a $16,000 range extender that's not out yet. So almost always delivers. So I am extremely excited about the new Roadster. And my favorite quote in there was, again, the one that he said about the only thing cooler than the Cybertruck is combining SpaceX and Tesla tech to create something that's not really a car. I am hyped, my friends. Very, very hyped. Feeling super stoked. Stoked and psyched. I tried to combine those into one word, and it did not go well. So can we just skip to the end of the year, please? Can we fast forward to the end of 2024 when this thing is supposed to get re-revealed? But a couple more points on this. First, as expected, Elon confirms that the next-gen Roadster will have drive-by-wire. No surprise there. It's going to be 48-volt as well. And it's no surprise on the yoke that he mentioned, because first, the 2017 next-gen prototype Roadster has a yoke. And now, thanks to the Cybertruck, we know that a yoke can totally work thanks to steer-by-wire and the variable ratio steering that enables that full lock-to-lock turning without ever having to take your hands off of the yoke. But in general, the other reason that none of this is a surprise, but is nevertheless nice to hear, is because remember, the new Roadster is going to have every cutting-edge piece of tech that Tesla has. This will be the Halo car. This will be the most expensive thing that Tesla has ever made. It is going to get every new toy put into it with the explicit purpose of creating the quickest, fastest sports car ever made, be it gas or electric. So again, just put me into a coma like Cartman on South Park when he's waiting for the new, the Okama Game Sphere, the fictional video game console. No, it was for the Wii, I think. It was for a real, when they did an episode about the Nintendo Wii. He wanted to freeze himself, cryogenically freeze himself until the console came out. Just put me in a freezer, cryogenically freeze me until the end of the year. Wake me up when the new Roadster is getting unveiled. All right, next up this week, Tesla has trademarked a couple of new at least cool sounding Cybertruck accessories. I saw this on Drive Tesla Canada, who writes, Tesla is apparently working on several new accessories for the Cybertruck, including illuminated door sill plates, according to a recent trademark filing by the company. On March 1st, 2024, Tesla filed a trademark application for the stylized Cybertruck logo, covering the categories of illuminated door sill trim plates for automobiles and illuminated door sills for automobiles. The application also covers fitted liners for cargo area of vehicles and cargo storage bins specially adapted to fit in cars. However, Tesla already has carpet and all-weather floor liners for sale, neither of which feature the stylized logo. The company also recently released cargo bins, which also don't have this logo, suggesting a few more accessories may be in the pipeline. Well, I want to focus on the illuminated door sill plates because I have those. I got them for my Model 3, and I love them. Now, I have to be honest, no one notices them. Like, you'd have to be a fellow Tesla, not just a fellow Tesla owner, but like, you'd have to be somebody that's enthusiastic enough to listen to this podcast. You guys would see that on my car. You'd be like, oh, you've got the illuminated door sill plates. Most Tesla owners would not even notice. And certainly all non-Tesla owners wouldn't notice. But I just completely adore the look of them. I love that they add a subtle but really neat light up effect when you open the front doors at night. And so I would absolutely buy these again for the Cybertruck, especially with that cool graffiti Cybertruck font. If that were to light up when you open the Cybertruck front doors, that's awesome. That's going to make the already Blade Runner-esque interior look even more cyberpunky. So sign me up for the illuminated door sill plates on the Cybertruck, presuming that Tesla does indeed build them and offer them for sale. And then, if indeed that does happen, I will absolutely pay my friend Jeff, the owner and proprietor at Immaculate Reflections, the detailer that does all the work on my car and that I always mention at the end of the show. I will definitely pay Jeff to install them, as I did for my Model 3 door sill plates, because when Jeff did that job, I watched him do it while we were just catching up and chatting. I hadn't been over to see him in a while. And while it's definitely not a job that I would say has to be left to a professional detailer, you could definitely do it yourself. But when I watched him do it, I remember saying to myself, I know this would take me 4 times longer than it's taking him to literally pry up the old one, because it's, they're metal. Pry up the old one, remove all of the old adhesive tape residue, and do that without scratching the paint. Admittedly, that's not an issue on the Cybertruck. And then carefully and properly install the new one so that it's in the exact right spot and it's all lined up right and it looks perfect. Anyway, I am super excited about this trademark filing. And again, I very much hope that this becomes a real product that we can all buy. Since Tesla already sells this for the other cars, I am optimistic. I think the odds are very good that it will happen. By the way, there's one other quick note on the Cybertruck this week, little quick tidbit of news. Tesla's 4680 battery cell production ramp is progressing. And we know this because the official Cybertruck account on X posted this past week, quote, produced over 1,000 Cybertrucks worth of 4680 cells at Giga Texas last week, with a nice, well-earned exclamation mark at the end. So hopefully vehicle manufacturing is also at that same level, if not higher, so that we can actually get 1,000 trucks produced each week. Or if the vehicle manufacturing hasn't quite caught up to the battery manufacturing, my hope is that it's very close. But either way, we're moving forward here. Cybertruck has now officially been in production for about 4 months, so the progress is happening. In fact, today, I think I might have mentioned on last week's podcast that one of the drone flyovers showed like 300 Cybertrucks in the outbound lot. Well, today, another flyover, there were even more than that. So we are going in the right direction on the Cybertruck production ramp. Next story this week, Shell. Yes, Shell, the auto company, the fuel, I should say, oil company, not auto company. The oil company Shell has announced a major pivot in its business strategy, focusing on expanding its electric vehicle charging infrastructure and divesting approximately 1,000 of its retail sites within the next 2 years. Another tip of the cap to Drive Tesla Canada, with a hat tip to listener Michael Gallo for also sending this to me. Drive Tesla Canada wrote, according to Shell's latest energy transition strategy report, the company said the decision to enhance its network with an expanded offering of EV charging stations was being made in response to changing customer preferences. Shell aims to increase its number of charge points from the current 54,000 to 200,000 by 2030, focused mainly in Europe and China. The sale of 1,000 retail sites, approximately 500 in 2024 and another 500 in 2025, represents about a 2% reduction of Shell's global footprint. This decision is not merely about reducing physical presence, but is focused on reallocating resources towards areas with the highest demand for EV charging facilities. Shell's approach includes not only installing chargers at existing gas stations, but also at new strategic locations, like mobility hubs, retail locations, and coffee shops. What this immediately tells me after reading this story is that Shell sees the writing on the wall. They don't have their heads buried in the sand, at least, or if they do, not all the way. They're maybe like peeking up out of there a little bit, if their head's buried in the sand at all. But they're all these oil companies are going to have to do this sooner rather than later, in fact, on top of that. And I find it interesting, though, that they're starting in Europe and China, although I guess if I think about it for 2 seconds, I guess I get it. I mean, those two regions have higher EV adoption rates than the US does so far, but I can't imagine the US is too far behind. Although then again, I acknowledge that I live in the Tesla bubble here in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I suppose that on a larger USA scale, presumably Shell doesn't see reason just yet to start converting any gas stations to EV charging stations, or even, you'd think they'd at least want to start installing some EV charge ports, fast charging stations, within those gas stations, but that must be in the next phase. Now we wait and see how long it takes the other major oil companies who have networks of gas stations to go ahead and follow suit. And there are plenty of them out there. There's too many to name on this podcast. Instead, I will move to the next story and talk about Hertz. Yes, the rental car company. Hertz CEO Stephen Scher has decided to step down following the rental firm's big bet on Tesla and other EVs that went awry, as the debacle cost the company big. I saw this on Teslarati, who writes, Hertz announced on Friday that Scher would leave his post as CEO and a member of the board of directors on March 31st. He'll be succeeded by former chief operating officer of both Delta Airlines and GM's Cruise self-driving unit, Gil West. The move came just a few months after Hertz revealed its big bet on EVs, which went south. In late 2022, Hertz placed a massive order for 100,000 Tesla Model 3 and Model Y vehicles. Then it decided to bulk up its fleet with more cars from other EV companies, including Polestar and GM. However, EV values dropped, especially with Tesla, who continued to cut prices throughout the bulk of 2023. Hertz lost nearly $250 million due to the price reductions and ultimately decided to sell some of the units outright. Hertz will reduce its EV fleet from 60,000 to 20,000 and use, quote, some of the funds to bolster its combustion engine vehicle fleet. Schur leaves Hertz after 2 years and believes his work helped the company remain competitive in a massively changing industry. Quote, over the last 2 years, the Hertz team has worked diligently to put the company on track for long-term success in a changing automotive landscape, he said. Hertz is well positioned for the future, and I look forward to seeing the company execute on its strategy as a leader in mobility, end quote. All right, honesty time on this one. I praised the heck out of this deal back when Hertz made it. I honestly thought that they were ahead of the curve and that this was going to be the forward-thinking move that would make Hertz a leader in its space. In fact, everything I said is obviously all recorded on episodes of this podcast, so even if I wanted to try and hide from what I said, I cannot. However, I will still praise the heck out of Hertz for leaning hard into electrification. In terms of replacing ICEs with EVs, the praise remains deserved. I mean, it's a shame to see that the economics have not worked out for Hertz, and it's seemingly due to Tesla's price cuts. So, in a weird, no doubt unintentional roundabout way, Tesla took Hertz's $4.5 billion, and then, in Tesla's persistent effort to get EV prices down in order to try to spur on the EV movement further, Tesla killed Hertz's EV movement since the cars were quickly not worth anywhere near what Hertz paid for them. And I will admit my business ignorance here. I guess I didn't realize that reselling these cars was such a big part of the economics of a rental car fleet business. So I still salute you, Hertz. This was an awesome big bet to make. And maybe Tesla's Gen 3 car, right? The so-called $25,000 car, maybe that one will make more sense for Hertz and for other rental car companies as it becomes available once production on it ramps up in the next, presumably, 2 to 3 years or so. At least, I hope it does. All right, that is everything I've got for you in this week's Tesla news. Stick with me. I've got some of your excellent Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls queued up and ready to go right after this. Before I get to those phone calls, let me quickly remind you about Accelerate Auto and their XCare extended warranty policy designed specifically for your EV, specifically your Tesla. They can do anything you like, from matching Tesla's own 2-year, 25,000-mile extended warranty plan to going up all the way to an extra 10 years and an extra 125,000 miles of coverage if you so desire, or anywhere in between. I've got a 3-year, 40,000-mile policy, extended warranty policy on my 2018 Model 3, which I have used a couple of times. Reimbursement's been easy. Filing the claim's been easy. Yeah, it's been great so far. I mean, I certainly hope I'm not going to need it, but it's there if I do. If you would also like to cover your car, if you're planning on hanging on to your Tesla for a while, as I am, head on over to accelerateauto.com/xcare. That's XCELERATEAUTO.com/XCARE. And don't forget to use the discount code LIGHTNING for $100 off your policy purchase. Thank you so much to Accelerate Auto for continuing to offer that nice $100 discount to the Ride the Lightning audience out there. And don't forget, the XCare policy goes above and beyond Tesla's own extended policy, not just in the terms, the years and the miles, but also they match Tesla's 24/7 roadside assistance and $100 deductible, but they go past that by offering rental reimbursement and trip interruption coverage. So it's good stuff. I do recommend them. AccelerateAuto.com/xcare, discount code LIGHTNING. All right, time for the Ride the Lightning hotline. If you've got a question, comment, or discussion topic for the podcast, call in. I'd love to hear from you, and you will have a chance to be featured here on an upcoming episode. To do that, there are two easy ways. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many calls each week as possible, and then email that file to me at my podcast email address, which is teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less question and just call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. You can do that anytime, day or night, and that toll-free number is 1-888-989-8752. Again, that's 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they are special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. Kicking us off is Brad from Minnesota.
I'm so sorry to be a downer, Ryan, but I put my car in autopilot. I engage and disengage autopilot all of the time to change lanes for any number of reasons. My hand is on the wheel right now. My hand is on the wheel, but guess what I'm going to hear? Yes, you guessed it, that annoying alert, which, by the way, mutes the podcast that I have going on or the music that I have playing in the background. My hand is on the wheel, yet every time it still gives me that alert. How long will we have to suffer this? Not long, I hope.
Hey, Brad. First of all, bonus points to you for showing your homework in class, showing your work, I guess I should say, by teeing up the beep in your call. I'm impressed. Second of all, you're absolutely right that there are some truly annoying alerts with autopilot. The one that's been making me nuts lately, what with all the rain that we've had in my area over the past 2-3 months, is when FSD has to slow down and reduce its max speed on the freeway because of poor weather detected. It makes a super loud and annoying chime, though that in and of itself is only part one of the annoyance. The real auditory pain with that one, for me, comes from the fact that it does this every 30 seconds. Yes, Spirit of Adventure, I know it's raining, and I got the message about the reduced speed after the first loudly annoying beep you threw at my eardrums. You don't have to keep telling me. Anyway, Brad, hopefully Tesla is able to dial some of these so-called safety, I mean, they are safety related, but can we have the safety without as much annoyance, please? And hopefully sooner rather than later. Thank you for your call. I go next to Jeff from Tucson talking Cybertruck.
Ryan, Jeff from Tucson here. You know, I've been thinking about this whole range extender thing a lot, and even mentioned it to my friend Jason, who turned me on to your show. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this. If the primary reason why there's range loss on electric trucks is towing things, why not integrate the range extender into a trailer? It seems like that would be a more logical choice as opposed to attaching it to the truck, which takes up bed space, as we all know, and it'd be much more versatile. You could make aftermarket enclosures or something like that, and even if it was a camping trailer or something, you could, attach some solar panels while you're camping to it to replenish the battery. And for contractors, most contracting companies don't have a trailer for every truck they have. They might have just a few trailers to use as needed. And if the trailer's at a job site, it could be used as a platform to hook up various things. So anyways, I could go on. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Keep up the good work. And thank you very much. Bye.
Hi, Jeff. That's a great question that I can honestly say I don't have a good answer for. We do know that Tesla likes to do things cleanly, meaning cleanly integrated accessories, kind of like Apple, I guess, in that regard. So maybe they looked at something like that and decided against it for aesthetic reasons. Maybe they had concerns about theft, like, say, somebody unhooking your trailer and making off with it in the middle of the night if you're parked at a motel or something and those batteries are valuable. There are probably better reasons than this that people out there listening who are much smarter than me will think of. But needless to say, I am really curious to both read and watch some real-world reports of the range extender once Tesla ships it, which at the moment is scheduled for the end of this year, perhaps not coincidentally also the same time that I personally expect general production of the Cybertruck to start. Thank you for your call. 2 more calls here. First up is Ryan from Cleveland.
Hey, Ryan. This is Ryan out in Cleveland, Ohio. Just calling on the topic of preconditioning your battery. I do know that it does actually warm up your battery. It is not just warming up the cabin of the car. I only know this because I happened to check the app once, hours before my departure time, and I saw it said it was warming up the battery for optimal performance. I also know I never get that snowflake symbol in the car when I have preconditioned, whereas if it's cold enough, you will get that. And I'm guessing you don't notice these things because you're in a warmer climate there. Anyway, so I do think preconditioning does help the overall life of the battery, just because you're going to get more less degradation, less cycles out of it because it's going to run manage power better. Anyway, sorry for the rambling. Have a good one. Thanks.
Fellow Ryan, thank you for that correction. And yes, I'm definitely taking your word on it over mine because you have a true winter to contend with there in Cleveland. And by the way, preconditioning is awesome feature number 437 or so that was added as a software update for free along the way. Not a thing that was originally on any of these cars, sort of in the grand scheme of things. Added later as a software update. You gotta love it. Thank you, Ryan. Finally, we go to David from Texas, talking blinkers on the new SX and Cybertruck, aka the stalkless cars.
Hey, Ryan, this is David from Texas. I was calling in about the blinkers on the new S and X and the Cybertruck, where you have the buttons on the steering wheel, which is a controversial issue. So when you use those, after you use the blinker and you turn, the blinker will automatically turn off. And so my suggestion to put out into the Tesla verse, and maybe some of the engineers might pick it up, is that if you're navigating to a destination, have it an option where the blinker will automatically turn on at your next turn or stop sign, and then it'll automatically turn off the same way it does during full self-driving, which would be more convenient for people. Thank you. Appreciate your help. Enjoy the podcast. Have a good day.
I like the thought here, David. Obviously, FSD already does this, but you're saying that even when you're driving manually, the turn signals could activate on their own for imminent turns as part of your navigational path. That could be a really neat option to have, honestly. As you heard me say in my Cybertruck review, I will say with the variable ratio steering, making it so that you never have to make hand-over-hand turns, plus the clicky buttons for the turn signals, the blinkers were a non-issue for me on the Cybertruck, but that doesn't apply specifically to the SX and the 3 Fresh, see I'm doing it again, where you still have to make hand-over-hand turns. I can't wait for Tesla, needless to say, to implement steer-by-wire and variable ratio steering into all of the cars, which I hope will happen eventually. Thanks for your call, David. Thanks to everybody that was kind enough to take the time to call in. If you would like to call in with a question, comment, or discussion topic and potentially be featured here on Ride the Lightning, I welcome you. I encourage you to call in. I gave you the call-in instructions a little while ago at the top of the segment, so refer back to those. But for now, stick with me. I'll be right back with your pro tip of the week and a little bit more coming up next.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
As for what's going on with me and my car, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, tomorrow, as I'm recording this, is the Tesla Owners Day event put on by the Tesla owners of Silicon Valley Club. And this morning I was down on my rowing machine in the garage doing my morning workout that I like to do. And I was looking at my car, and I was like, it's still clean, except it's like really covered in dust because it's been a couple weeks since I've washed it. And I was like, well, yeah, I don't think I'm going to have time to wash it before the club event, which is, was going to be the next day, tomorrow morning. And now I'm looking out the window as the rain's just pouring down, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow. And I guess everybody's car is just going to get rained on, and it won't really matter if my car is dusty or not. So I am looking forward to that event. They're having the Tesla Semi there, which is a awesome get to hook that up with Tesla. I have had the pleasure of seeing the Tesla Semi up close and in person, both at Tesla events and at the, I guess now concluded, Tesla exhibit at the Peterson Auto Museum. But I'm hoping, I don't know for sure, but I'm crossing my fingers that maybe I'll get to sit in it. Maybe they'll have the Semi opened up so that you can actually get up in the cab and check it out there. So we'll see. Looking forward to that event. Hope to meet/see some of you there. Whether if I've met you before or not, I'm looking forward to seeing some of you there. Here's an entertainment recommendation for this week. This one is not a family-friendly one, but it's awesome if you are an adult looking for an awesome superhero animated show. The show is Invincible. It's back. It's the second half of season 2. Part 2 of season 2 has now started back up on Prime Video. It's just been season 1's really good. Season 2's been pretty cool so far as well, and so now we're into the second half. So if you're already watching that show, here's your PSA that it's back. And if you're not and you need something fun that's, again, totally not for kids to watch, that is a really good choice. You could do a lot worse than Invincible. Here's your pro tip of the week. It's from Terry in Pennsylvania.
Hi, Ryan. This is Terry from Pennsylvania. I heard your message about the Apple Watch as a possible future for the Tesla app, and that's great. I just wanted to point out that Tesla did add Apple shortcuts for those who have an iPhone, and those shortcuts, which you can set up on your phone, can also be moved to the Apple Watch. So you can basically have all of the commands for the car on your watch. You can either speak them to your watch or select them and pick them from a list. I found this very helpful. Many a times I'm walking out to the car and I just lift my watch and say open trunk, or I'll say vent windows. So the only thing you can't do, and this is where having a watch app would be great, if it truly will unlock the car. Because I did power off my phone and tried to use my watch to unlock the car, and apparently it still needs to talk back to the phone and use the Bluetooth through the iPhone to the car to unlock it. So that wouldn't help you if the iPhone battery went dead or failed you. So hopefully we will get the watch app, but in the interim, if people want to issue commands and work their car from their Apple Watch, they can do it with shortcuts.
Fantastic tip here, Terry. Thank you. I have a vague memory of maybe mentioning this on the podcast when the Tesla app first became compatible with shortcuts, but it's also entirely possible that I didn't. I will say I have personally tried it, and at least when I did, which was admittedly a good bit ago now, I think closer to when it first came out, it weirdly wasn't always working properly for me, but maybe I'm missing something. So I'd suggest anybody out there Google how to set up iPhone shortcuts for Tesla app to help you get started. And then you've got Terry's pro tip as well. So Terry, thank you so much for that. And if anybody else out there has a good pro tip of the week that you'd like to share with me and your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts, you can send it in the same way that you send in the regular Ride the Lightning hotline calls, which I gave you the 2 easy optional ways to do a little earlier in the podcast. All right, before I scoot out of here, I want to mention some friends of Ride the Lightning that, again, my hope is they'll be of use to you sooner or later. AbstractOcean.com has so many excellent aftermarket Tesla accessories, from their rear footwell lighting kits, which I really think are great for the Model Y since the seats are on risers. It classes up that second row view a little bit. You know, you'll have the little just subtle white light underneath the seats there, along with the accent lighting in the door pockets as well. So I'm a fan of the rear footwell lighting kit. They've also got, of course, the 4th generation tempered glass screen protector. That's one of their top sellers. They've got so much stuff. There's just all kinds of things. You got to go and take a look, see what they've got, see what strikes your fancy, add anything you like to your online shopping cart, and then when you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTLPodcast to get 15% off of your first order. 15%, that's a nice deal, which Abstract Ocean has very kindly been extending to the Ride the Lightning audience for quite some time now. So I am very grateful to Abstract Ocean for doing that. So again, that's RTL Podcast, all one word, no spaces, for the coupon code to get 15% off of your first order. Next, the Snap Plate and new Snap Plate Plus for Model 3, Model Y, Model X, and Model S as well. Get yours at everyamp.com/RTL. Use the coupon code RTL for a discount as well. This is the front license plate bracket that I recommend if you either want or legally are required to have a front license plate on your car. The front license plate bracket that snaps on and off in seconds. It is paint safe, grill safe, radiator safe, and autopilot safe. But when it's on, by the way, when I say snaps on and off in seconds, it's easy to install, but if once it's on there, it's not going anywhere. Like it's just easy to deal with. That's the thing. It's got a nice, clean, minimal design that blends really nicely with the Tesla front end, and it leaves no unsightly hardware behind when it's removed. Maybe you want to remove it for a car show, Cars and Coffee. If you're doing a serious detailing session, you want to take it off. But if you want to have it on, because say you're going to be parked at a parking meter, something like that, make those fix-it tickets go away using the Snap Plate or the Snap Plate Plus. The differences are the Snap Plate is safety optimized with breakaway features to sacrifice itself in a worst-case scenario like a parking accident or a car wash, while the Snap Plate Plus is strength optimized with hardened features for maximum strength. Both are made from recycled, made in the USA plastics with stainless steel reinforcements. Again, get yours at everyamp.com/RTL, and don't forget to use the coupon code RTL for a discount. BudgetSafeSolar.com now offers home battery storage, including, yes, the Tesla Powerwall. Home battery storage is offered as part of their solar installations, so you can get the entire kit and caboodle should you desire that. Head on over to BudgetSafeSolar.com to start the process of getting a quote for your roof installation. See how many kilowatts that they're going to initially suggest, how many you're looking for, and take it from personal experience. If the initial request or the initial estimate does not match what you want, they will work with you to get you what you want, because that's what happened to me. I had done, as you may remember, I had done my initial estimate with Tesla Solar, and they said, well, we can only do this much on your roof, and it didn't work out with them, so I went to BudgetSafeSolar.com and said, I want 100% energy offset, and yes, I know that I have a tall, narrow San Francisco house, and so not a lot of roof real estate to work with. They made sure I had the most highly efficient panels that they offer and squeezed on as many as they could, and now I've got a 100% offset. I got what I wanted at BudgetSafeSolar.com. So check them out. Keep them on your list. Obviously, you're not just going to go to them and just go. You're going to shop around, as you should. I would, and I did. But keep them on your short list. And if you do proceed with an installation with them for your home or business, I kindly ask that you use the referral code RTL. I mentioned my friend Jeff, the owner and master detailer at Immaculate Reflections. He actually texted me during the podcast here. He's doing his first Tesla road trip, driving down from the San Francisco Bay Area to San Diego in his new Model Y. I told him, go to Kettleman City, because that's where they have the cool lounge that has the barista, makes you a cappuccino. They've got the merch stand. At least they used to have the merch. I hope they still do. I haven't been through there in quite some time, but the car was telling him to go to a different supercharger. I said, well, if you can make it to Kettleman City, go there. And he got there. And he was texting me very excited, because he hit 257 kilowatts briefly on his supercharging rate. And I was like, that's impressive. 250 is what Tesla advertises as the peak rate. I think I've seen mine go to 252, maybe even 254. I don't know if I've ever seen 257. That's an awesome spike right there. Anyway, so safe travels to Jeff, but he will be back when the business week resumes very soon. So if you have a car that you care about, it's, like your Tesla, but maybe you got some other fun cars as well, and you are in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, and you'd like to get those cars detailed by a professional. I'm talking about paint correction to get all the little imperfections out of your paint finish. Maybe you want to do paint protection film on some parts or all of the entire car. Maybe you want to do ceramic coating on the car. Whatever it is, Immaculate Reflections, I promise you, will take awesome care of you, and they kindly offer a nice discount for the Ride the Lightning audience. So go to the website, irdetailing.com, and when you reach out through there, just mention in your message that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and any service that you book, that discount will be applied. Finally, let me mention my Patreon one more time. Again, you can find it at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. The podcast is free. I promise you it will always be free, and it always has been for the first 451 of these, the last 8.5 plus years. But yeah, it'll always be free, but it's your kind support that does allow me to keep this thing going while also balancing my full-time day job, my dad duties, my role as a husband, just being a family guy as well. So your support is sincerely and genuinely appreciated. I promise you, it's not being taken for granted. It's not being used on frivolous things. It is being used to survive in the San Francisco Bay Area on a media guy's salary. Remember, I work in media. That's not exactly it's not exactly a tech job, or it's believe me, I love what I do. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just saying that if you are kind enough to support me on Patreon, that your contribution is not being taken for granted. It is being genuinely appreciated. So thank you very much, both to everybody that is currently pledging, and thank you in advance to anybody considering one. So as I mentioned near the top of the podcast, the support tiers start at just $5 a month. And that $5 a month will get you early access to each week's episode. Step up to that super popular $10 tier, and you'll get the early access each week, and you'll get access to all of those lightning round bonus mini episodes that I do every week on Patreon. This next one will be number 90 coming up. So thank you all for considering seeing it in your heart to consider a pledge. I do truly thank you for that. If you're not already following / subscribing to the podcast, depending what each major podcast service calls it, please do that. It's totally free, and all it means is that if you follow / subscribe to Ride the Lightning, it will be automatically pushed to you every time there's a new episode, which is, of course, every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. It means you don't have to remember to go seek out and download the podcast. It will seek you out instead, which makes things easier. So most of you get it on Apple Podcasts, but I'm also on, I think Google Podcasts is sunsetting. I forget what's replacing it, but anyway, I'm on Apple Podcasts, I'm on Google, I'm on TuneIn, I'm on Spotify, which a lot of you use as well. I'm also on YouTube podcasts. Just search Ride the Lightning Tesla on YouTube and you will find my channel. Actually, that's the search term to use to find me on any of these, really. So make sure to do that if you're not already doing so. And finally, I mentioned it earlier, so just real quick, if you need a referral code, if you're buying a new Tesla and you just need one, I am happy for you to use mine if you like, because remember now you get the 3 free months of FSD and 1 year of premium connectivity. So to purchase your car with the referral bonuses baked in, type this into a web browser on mobile or desktop, whatever device is most convenient for you. Type in ts.la/Ryan73014. From there, choose which Tesla you'd like to order, configure it how you like, submit the order, and when you take delivery, you'll have the 3 free months of FSD turned on, and you'll have the 1 year of premium connectivity turned on as well. You can follow me on X and or on Instagram. I have the same username on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan. You can email me anytime if you like. It's not just for submitting Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls. If you'd like to email me, my address is teslapodcast@gmail.com. And finally, let me say hello and thank you to the upper tier Patreon backers. A couple new ones this week. So I want to start with the Roadster in Space tier. Thank you very much to getamber.com, along with the other Roadster in Space tier backers, Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, Kristen Rumble, and American Home Contractors. Next up, the Maximum Plaid group, including the newest Maximum Plaid backer, Rav. Rav, thank you so much for your generous pledge. And I hope to see you at the next Patreon Zoom Hangout, which will be coming up not too far away, because April is not too far away. So that's right around the corner. Thank you as well to the rest of the Maximum Plaid crew, Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Brett Libano, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Mark Eversole, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Michael Williams, Will Stedman, Derek Nesselrote, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Richard Corley, Chris Osborne, KB, Doug Carey, James Gregory, Adam Lavoie, ContactOneCallCenter.com, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, Matt Kalin, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Sean Tisdale, Dustin Hart, Michael Gallo, Derek Finley, and Charles Clement. And finally, the grandfathered-in Plaid level supporters. Thanks to all of you who kindly continue to back me at this Plaid level, so I continue to grandfather you in on all of the perks that you should get, including this shout-out. So thank you so much to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, David Perella, Dennis Peak, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, David J. Howes, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. And with that, we've come to the end of Ride the Lightning episode 451. Next week, what do we got? The 31st. So it's not quite, well, the show will publish at the end of the quarter, but we won't quite have the production and delivery numbers for Q1. That'll be the following week's episode. So we'll look forward to that. There'll be no doubt plenty to talk about there, but I'm sure next week, as always, there will be plenty of fun stuff in the world of Tesla to discuss. So until then, my friends, happy electric motoring, and I'll see you soon.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.